Hello guys, my name is Paul Bentley and welcome to All About the Sport. We're going to be talking about absolutely everything in every sport variety. Starting today with something that's a bit personal to me, if I'm totally honest with you. Eye poking in the UFC. As far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of fights that shouldn't have gone ahead, that basically shouldn't have ended up the way they did. And I do feel as though there's a few fighters who've been let down by this rule. A long time ago, when I had a go myself in the amateurs, I struggled with eye pokes. I did. And it ended up to me having operations, multiple operations on my eyes, in which I have to wear sunglasses indoors sometimes. I actually remember going to a close friend's wedding in Portugal and I couldn't see. He walked me off the plane. So eye poking and the aftermath of eye poking is absolutely sinister. It is, it's really bad. So there are a few fighters that I don't blame acting the way they're acting, and there are a few fighters that I feel sorry for. I do want to give you a few examples also. So first we're going to have a little look at Kevin Burns and Anthony Johnson. And if you have a little look at this fight, you'll see that first and foremost, it looked like he was going for the straight shot uppercut. But if you have a little look closely at this, it's indirectly a massive poke straight into the eye. It went right into his eye before he threw the uppercut. So it looked as though he was getting a fucking clean KO. But if you have a look at the left hand here, it looked like he went knuckle deep. This, to me, is a very fucking scary eye poke. First and foremost, Kevin Burns gets the result, okay? Now, look, when looking at things like that, when we're talking about the rule being if you get eye poked, and we can get the rules up here. Let's get the rules up and we'll show you. So this says in the rules, eye poking in modern MMA is a prohibited serious foul defined as extending the fingers toward an opponent's face or eyes. You can see the extended finger from the left hand before the uppercut. You can see on the replay that his fingers knuckle deep. So what I don't understand is, one, the controversy of how he won. Two, how they didn't look at that after the fight, which is there in black and white from a replay, and then consider results after that. I don't understand it. And this has happened to multiple people, which has affected the roster in MMA. It's affected a lot of people's lives. It's affected a lot. Now we've got Struve versus Miocic. Again, this eye poke leads to a TKO. Have a little look at this. And you can see at the beginning of this confrontation that the eye poke again leads to Stefan Struve moving away. You can see him moving away, and with that then it leads to an absolute flourish of punches which he can't see. Miocic, sorry, he can't see. He's squinting there on his right eye. He's slipping everywhere. He can't defend himself because he typically cannot see out of his eye. And once again, on the replay, you can see that he's been poked. He's been poked. So if his eye's being poked, it's there on a replay. You can fucking clearly see he can't do much. Before that, he was fine. And it's consistent. And this is consistent in the UFC. We have consistent problems with eye pokes. I'm going to show you one more before we go back into it, which is Rodriguez versus Stevens. Happy again, just normal fighting. Everyone seems happy enough. There's the eye poke, time out by Dean. It doesn't look too bad there, but it looks like it's a graze over the eye, which could be worse if he scratches the retina. That's it for me. You can't fight after that. Rodriguez cannot fight after that. Dean calls it off. Who do you think gets the win? Stevens, of course. Surely to God there's got to be a fucking problem with this. And surely to God this has to be attacked. We can go on and on and on. But there is one thing that I particularly want to go into. Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. Now there's been a lot of conversation about this. There's been a lot of scrutiny. There's been a lot of positive things where Tom's concerned. But I do believe Dana White turned his back on him. I think also Dana's trying to track back a little bit here because we're starting to see Dana White come out in public saying that he would like to speak to Tom about the future. Tom now has signed up with Zuffa, Eddie Hearn, and I think it's Turki Al-Sheikh. Tom's basically had the UFC turn their back on him in this occasion. It looked to me like Cyril Gane tried on 3 separate occasions to poke Tom in the eye. It seemed as though maybe in Cyril Gane's head, this is what he had to do to hinder Tom Aspinall. For me, Cyril Gane's always been a good fighter. He's always been good enough to win a title. On this occasion, I don't see why that should have been any different, but he chose to use this absolute bollocks and cheating, in my opinion, to win the fight. As Cyril Gane's fighting with Tom, this is how he's fighting. He's got the fucking quad stomps, and his hands are constant. Like, there's a lot of the interactions, if you have a look, and you'll see on the videos that we're providing, his hands are consistent like this. I mean, he's not a fucking girl. He's not trying to scratch him. But for me, it's just not what you'd expect from a heavyweight fighter to come into a fight and do this. Now, John Jones, you know, I know he's well known for it. DC, you know, he was quite well known for it. But there's got to be a change. There has. And I think the Tom Aspinall and Garney fight is the epitome of this stupidity. I really do. I think it's affected the UFC massively. Obviously, with Tom now talking about retiring from UFC, which is a big problem. Nobody wants Tom Aspinall to leave the UFC. Whether you like him or not, he was a well-ranked lad who could have went all the way. You know, I know he talked what he talked and he said what he said. And in this occasion, he got a lot of stick because he bowed out to the fight. But, guys, do you not understand the importance of your eyes? Do you not understand being in a fight of that caliber and then trying to go on and then getting your head kicked in just because you can't see? Now, I'll give props to Paddy, as you can see in this video. Here with Paddy, he put up with a lot of eye poking and he literally just got on with the job. But there's levels of severity also. We don't know whether Paddy's just an absolute fucking animal and doesn't give a shit. In that fight, I'll give Muller props in the world. You know, I've never seen Paddy go into a war the way he did. Paddy likes his groundwork. He's always very skilled. He's always very clever in his approach. In this occasion, Paddy went for a fight. I think he promised the crowd a fight, and with that mentality, went at the fight to have a dog fight, and he did, and it was a great fight. I do think, once again, there could have been a few warnings or disqualification if he mentioned the eye pokes, because there was quite a lot involved, and again, the UFC failed to recognise it and failed to do fuck all about it, which did let Paddy down like they did in Tom Aspinall. But this has to be changed. We've looked up and we've tried to source legislation for the future. We've tried to source what can be done to change the UFC. We've tried to email certain people in the UFC to get a response on what could happen in the future to no response. And we've also spoke to a company who were trying to provide a certain glove that would keep the hands clenched. With the UFC gloves, we have the ability to move the fingers just as so. This is to help the groundwork of the wrestlers, the grapplers, to do what they have to do, and I totally agree with that. That's what mixed martial arts is. You are mixing your martial arts, in which case you have to provide the accommodation for the groundworkers also. I'm talking maybe a cupping, you know, a movement to cupping. You know, would that benefit, would that hinder the UFC, would that benefit or hinder groundworkers? I don't know. But what I can guarantee right now is that something has to be changed. Otherwise, people are just going to get robbed. And they are getting robbed. And if somebody's able or has the ability to be able to beat someone in a cage unless they cheat, that's the definition of fucking robbery. So, UFC, Dana White, come at us with a solution. We've come to you with a problem. You're the gaffer. Come at us with a solution, because there's a lot of people calling out to find out whether there's going to be a change of rules. You've got big stars like Tom Aspinall leaving the UFC. These people provide the UFC with English support. Paddy Pimblett, again, poked in the eye, English support. You don't want to get to the point where the English are getting legged. There was not too long ago that there was a fight in England where the crowds were falling asleep at the UFC in Manchester, where it didn't finish till 6 a.m, just so we could provide the Americans with the ability to watch this program. What about the fucking English? I'm not sitting here trying to do a video just to protect the English. I'm certainly not, just because I am English, but let's fucking have it right here. You've got two superstars with their eyes getting grazed out of the skull. You've got an event in Manchester, you know, and I know it's all about money, of course it is, but let's have it right, Dana. It's not like you're using the money to pay the fighters, because there's also a discrepancy about pay. So guys, step it up and pass it on. It's important that we're able to talk about these things, and it's important that we're able to question these things. That way you can come back with a solution to the problems. Thank you.